Welcome back to my channel, Official History of Coins. You know, it's funny, some of the most interesting things we find are the ones we almost throw away. And today, I want to talk about something that probably looks like it's been through the ringer. We are looking at a little piece of everyday history. Let's get started, but hold on. I want you to slow down for a second, because that worn, grimy surface might be hiding something way more surprising than just a dime from the 1970s. The 1976 dime isn't just another coin in your pocket, it's part of a special year for the United States Mint. This was the bicentennial year, a massive celebration of 200 years of American independence. While the quarter and the half dollar got huge design changes to mark the occasion, the dime stayed true to its roots, featuring the profile of President Franklin D. Roosevelt. But that particular date, 1976, puts it right in the middle of a time when the mint was producing coins for both circulation and collectors, and sometimes a few extra special versions slipped through the cracks. So even though this coin looks like it's had a hard life, the story behind it is anything but ordinary. Now here, where the curiosity really kicks in. What makes this specific dime different from the 1975 or the 1977 version? At first glance, nothing, but the value isn't always in the design. Sometimes, it's in the tiny details you can barely see without a magnifying glass. You see, the mint struck these coins at 3 different facilities: Philadelphia, Denver, and San Francisco. If your coin has no mint mark, it came from Philadelphia. A small d means it's from Denver, but the one you really want to look for is the S mint mark. That indicates it was struck at the San Francisco Mint, and many of those were produced as proof coins, shiny mirror-like specimens intended for collectors. However, sometimes those proof dies were used to strike regular circulation coins, creating something called an impaired proof, or even more exciting, a transition coin. The magic here is that even a coin that looks beat up can have a story that makes it worth way more than 10 cents. So let's say you've got one in your hand right now. It's got some gunk in the crevices, maybe a few scratches across Roosevelt's cheek, and the edges are a little dull. You might think it's worthless, but that's the exact mindset that lets valuable coins slip right through our fingers. Here, what you need to do, look closely at the date. The 1976 should be clear, then flip it over and check for that mint mark next to the bottom of the torch. If you see an S, your ears should perk up. But it's not just the mint mark. The condition, even if it's bad, matters. Coins that are full band or full torch, meaning the horizontal lines on the torch and the bands are completely distinct and not worn down, are highly sought after. Even a dirty, ugly coin that still has those details preserved can be a hidden gem. Don't let the grime fool you. The value is in the metal and the strike, not the shine. And let's talk about those numbers, because this is where the hidden surprise really comes to life. We often assume a coin has to be shiny and new to be worth anything, but that's just not the case with key dates and varieties. For a 1976 dime, depending on its condition and whether it has that S mint mark, we're looking at numbers that can genuinely shock you. For example, a high-grade circulated example with full bands might fetch around $850. If the coin is in better shape, maybe it's been tucked away for years and is in uncirculated condition, that price can climb to $1,300. Now, if you happen to have a proof 1976 S that has a rare die error, like a double die or a missing mint mark, the bids start getting serious, around $2,100. I've seen pristine specimens, graded by professional services, sell for $3,400 at auction. And in the absolute top tier, a perfect, flawless coin with original luster and no scratches can easily reach $4,700 or more. It's insane to think that this little piece of metal, which looks like it's been kicked around a parking lot, could be worth that kind of cash. This is why I always say that every old coin deserves a second look. The value isn't just in the bright, flashy ones that are locked away in plastic cases. Often, the real treasures are the ones that have been in circulation, jingling around in pockets and purses for decades. The wear and tear gives them character, but it doesn't erase their potential. The fact that a 1976 dime can hold such significant value tells you that the market cares about rarity and detail, not just appearance. So if you have one that looks dirty and forgotten, you're actually in a great position. That grime might have preserved the surface underneath, preventing it from getting scratched further. It's like a little time capsule that just needs a gentle, careful evaluation. But please, before you go running to the kitchen to grab a cloth or some polish, let me give you one very important piece of advice. Do not clean it. I know it's tempting. You see a dirty coin and you want to make it sparkle, but that is the single fastest way to cut its value in half, or worse. Cleaning leaves tiny, hairline scratches that are visible under magnification, and professional graders can spot a cleaned coin from a mile away. They call it whizzed or polished, and it instantly downgrades the coin, turning that $4,700 dream into a $2 curiosity. The natural patina and even the dirt are part of the coin's history. Just leave it as is, handle it by the edges, and put it in a protective flip or a small envelope to keep it safe. So what's the takeaway here? Take another look through that jar of spare change or that old coin collection from your parents or grandparents. That 1976 dime might have been sitting there, waiting for someone to notice it. It doesn't need to be perfect. It just needs to be real and have the right details. With prices ranging from $850 to over $4,700, it's one of those modern-era coins that can genuinely surprise you. Remember, if it's scratched, worn, and dirty, don't be discouraged. That just means it has a story to tell. And that story, combined with a little bit of luck, could turn a boring pocket change find into something truly remarkable. Thanks for hanging out with me today, and I hope you find that hidden gem in your own collection. Take care, and happy hunting. Next coin, the USA 1 dime Liberty coin from 1995, with the D mint mark, can look like an ordinary pocket coin at first glance, especially when it appears worn, dull, scratched, or damaged from years of circulation. Many people see the faded shine, small marks on the surface, and loss of detail around the design, and immediately assume it has no value. However, coins are often judged too quickly, and the real story depends on important details such as the mint mark, condition, rarity, errors, and collector demand. This 1995 D1 dime may look like a simple piece of change, but careful examination can reveal why some collectors pay close attention to these coins. The 1995 D-dime was produced at the Denver Mint and carries the famous Roosevelt dime design, featuring the portrait of Franklin D. Roosevelt on the front and the torch, olive branch, and oak branch on the reverse. This design has been part of American coin history for decades and remains one of the most recognized dime designs in the United States. The D mark shows that the coin was struck in Denver, and collectors often study these details because small differences in production, preservation, and errors can dramatically affect a coin's desirability. Even though millions of these coins entered circulation, certain examples can become much more interesting to collectors. One reason many people overlook the 1995 D-dime is because it is commonly found in everyday change, and many examples have lost their original appearance. A circulated coin may have a gray or dark surface, tiny scratches, and flattened details from years of handling, but wear does not automatically mean worthless. Collectors understand that a coin's story, condition, and special characteristics matter. A well-preserved example with strong details, attractive surfaces, and a clean strike can stand out among ordinary pieces. Some higher quality examples have been valued around $920, especially when they show exceptional preservation or unusual features that attract serious buyers. To identify this coin properly, start by checking the date 1995 and the small D mint mark near the lower area of the obverse design. Look closely at Roosevelt's portrait, the lettering, and the reverse details including the torch and branches. A coin with sharper lines and less damage generally has more collector interest than one with heavy wear. It is also important to look for unusual striking characteristics or rare errors because these features can separate a normal coin from a more valuable collectible. Many people only check if the coin looks old, but collectors check the small details that most people miss. The value of a 1995 D1 dime can vary widely depending on its grade and condition. A regular circulated example may not bring a huge amount, but coins in excellent condition or special categories can attract much stronger attention. Some examples have been discussed with values around $1,650, while higher quality specimens may reach approximately $2,750 or more when collectors compete for them. The strongest examples with outstanding preservation and desirable characteristics can move even higher, with some values reaching around $3,850 and potentially up to $4,900 plus, depending on grading and market demand. Another important point for anyone who finds this coin is to avoid cleaning it. Many people try to make an old coin look shiny by polishing or using chemicals, but this can actually remove the natural surface and reduce collector interest. Original condition is extremely important in coin collecting, and a coin that looks untouched often has more appeal than one that has been altered. If you believe you have a special 1995 D dime, it is better to protect it, handle it carefully, and have it properly examined rather than trying to improve its appearance yourself. The demand for coins like this comes from collectors who enjoy finding overlooked pieces with history behind them. A small dime can represent American minting history, years of circulation, and the possibility of hidden rarity. While not every 1995 D dime will become a high-value treasure, the right example can have strong collector value. This is why experienced collectors never judge a coin only by its worn appearance. They study the details, the strike, the condition, and the story behind the piece. So before you spend or ignore a 1995 D USA 1 dime Liberty coin, take a closer look. That small coin in your collection or pocket may have more value than it appears to have. Its condition, features, and rarity can make the difference between an ordinary dime and a collectible piece worth serious attention. Second coin, 1997 dime. But it doesn't look like much, does it? It's grimy, maybe even a little discolored, with a dull, lifeless surface that seems to soak up the light instead of reflecting it. There are scratches across Roosevelt's cheek. The edges are worn smooth from decades of being rattled around, and honestly, it looks like the kind of thing you'd toss back into the junk drawer without a second thought. It feels almost disrespectful to call it treasure. But that's exactly where the magic hides, in the things we're too quick to dismiss. Now I want you to hold that coin in your hand and really think about its journey. This little dime was minted in Denver in 1997, a year that feels like yesterday and a lifetime ago all at once. It left the mint with over 979 million other dimes, just another drop in an ocean of pocket change. It was designed by John R. Sinek, the same artist who gave us the Roosevelt dime back in 1946, a tribute to a president who fought polio and started the March of Dimes. But this particular coin, the one you're holding, it's seen things. It's been spent at a corner store, dropped on a sidewalk, fished out of a vending machine, and stuffed into countless pockets. And all that wear, all that grime, it tells a story. But it also hides a secret that most people walk right past. You see, the real value of a 1997 D dime isn't in its shine, it's in the tiny, almost invisible details that survive despite the abuse. The first thing you need to do is flip it over to the reverse, the side with the torch. Look closely at the horizontal bands wrapped around that torch. Collectors call this the full bands, or FB designation, and it's incredibly hard to find on a coin that's been in circulation. The Denver Mint struck these coins in massive numbers, but the striking process often left those bands weak or mushy. If your ugly, worn-out dime still has crisp, complete lines running across those bands, you are holding something very special. It's like finding a perfectly intact butterfly wing in a pile of crushed leaves. That detail, that single surviving feature, is what separates a 10-cent piece from a coin that collectors will actually fight over. And that brings us to the numbers, because this is where the emotional roller coaster really starts. You might be looking at this dull, discolored coin thinking, there's no way this is worth anything. But the market tells a very different story. A circulated 1997 D dime is indeed just worth face value, maybe 15 or 35 cents. But if it grades out well, even in uncirculated condition, it can sell for around $150. That's already a nice return for a coin you almost threw away. But if that dime has the full bands detail, the price begins to climb into a whole different territory. In MS65 condition with full bands, you're looking at values that can reach $780. Push that to MS66, and you're suddenly at $1,250. At MS67, with those perfect horizontal lines on the torch, we're talking about $2,050, maybe even more. And if, by some miracle, A 1997 D-dime in MS-68 with full bands ever crosses the auction block. It could easily command $3,300, with some experts suggesting it could climb as high as $4,600 or more. It's almost unbelievable that this little piece of discolored metal could be worth that kind of money. But here, the heartbreaking part, so many people have held a coin exactly like this and let it go. They saw the grime, they saw the scratches, and they assumed it was worthless. They spent it on a soda, or they tossed it in a Coinstar machine, never knowing that they were giving away a small fortune. That's the tragedy of the common coin. The 1997 D-dime is a perfect example of how appearance can be the biggest liar in the room. It doesn't need to be shiny. It doesn't need to be perfect. It just needs to have that one detail, those full, unbroken bands on the torch to transform from pocket change into a collector's dream. And the thing is, you can't see that detail without really looking. You have to slow down, you have to care enough to examine it. Now let me give you a piece of advice that could save you a lot of regret. You are going to be tempted, I know you will be, to take that dirty coin and scrub it until it shines. Please, please do not do that. Cleaning a coin is the fastest way to destroy its value. Professional grading services can spot a cleaned coin instantly, and they will reject it or grade it so low that it becomes virtually worthless. Those scratches and that natural patina, that's the coin's history. That's what gives it character. If you scrub it away, you're not making it better, you're just removing the evidence of its age and authenticity. Handle it by the edges, put it in a protective flip or a small envelope, and leave it exactly as you found it. The grime is part of the story, and the story is what gives it value. So what do you do now? You go back to that jar. You go back to that old drawer. You look at every single dime you have with new eyes. Check the date, look for that little D mint mark just below Roosevelt's neck on the obverse, and then flip it over and inspect those torch bands. You might find nothing, and that's okay. But you might also find a coin that everyone else overlooked. You might find a coin that your grandpa carried in his pocket for years without ever knowing its worth. That's the beauty of this hobby. It turns the mundane into the miraculous. It reminds us that value isn't always obvious, and that sometimes the ugliest, most overlooked things in our lives are the ones carrying the biggest surprises. At the end of the day, this isn't just about money. It's about paying attention. It's about recognizing that even in the dirt and the wear, there can be something extraordinary. That 1997 D-dime might be worth $780, it might be worth $1,250, it might even be worth over $4,600. But the real value is in the thrill of the find, in the possibility that you held something special without even knowing it. So take your time, look closely, and never underestimate the quiet little coins hiding in the shadows. Thanks for joining me today, and I hope your next handful of change turns out to be a whole lot more interesting than you ever expected. Take care, and happy hunting.